Hey, welcome back to Night Owl Movie Talk, keeping you up on all the latest movie news. Speaking of which, during the break, I was handed this top secret dossier regarding all the latest news at
Battle at the Toy Box Office.
Nobody likes a disembodied voice. All right, it's like you're not really helpful, and I kind of am wondering if I'm schizophrenic. Probably a little of both. Um, Looks like at the Battle of the Toy Box Office, our military reign is over. No longer controlled by our oppressive captors in jets, we have been freed by the dinosaurs. Chris Pratt rules the day. Gosh bless his rascal heart. That boy can't stay out of trouble, I tell you. All right, let's go to the big board here and see what we've got. Jurassic World Dominion drags in, I'm sorry, Jurassic World Dominion brings in 143.3 million. Top Gun Maverick has brought in 50 million this week, but a 393, so basically 400 million so far in its reign of terror. And then Doctor Strange in the in the Multiverse of Madness is still hanging strong at third. It kind of dominated the early part of the summer. We'll get to that in a second. And then we got Bob's Burgers. Of course, that's going to have a cult following. It'll probably run for a few more weeks, and then it'll really catch on streaming, I'm sure. You still see Firestarter tied at 8 there. It's actually been going up. Word of mouth has been helpful to that, which is weird because all the word of mouth I've heard has been terrible. So we'll have to see. Getting back to the whole Sonic the Hedgehog thing and the battle for the toy box office. If you're not familiar, the summer movie season started off with Sonic the Hedgehog running out and grabbing the brass ring, pardon the pun. And then, of course, the next week, a wizard came in and just destroyed everything, those comic book characters. And the wizard held down the fort for like 3 weeks. Nobody could take the wizard's reign away from him. And then some jet fighters came in and they defeated the wizard. And then the wizard eventually had to kind of crawl back and let the, Air Force, or actually, that's one of my issues with Top Gun, right? Why is it the Navy? When I see a bunch of jets flying around, I'm like, oh, the Air Force. And they're like, no, it's the Navy. So then I'm like, well, if it's the Navy, why isn't it boats? And they're like, well, the Navy has planes too. And I'm like, yeah, but so I'm so far away from Top Gun at that point in the discussion, I just am not interested anymore. Although the first one's a bit of a classic because Tony Scott's amazing. And this one appears to be more heavy duty on the effects of the flight and, all the things we can do with cameras and how much Tom Cruise is willing to risk his life. So its reign of terror and militaristic oppression, that's a word I don't use much, thank goodness. Militaristic oppression is eventually now overthrown by these dinosaurs. And then next week, Buzz Lightyear is going to come in and kick everybody's butt. So if you wonder why I say it's a toy box office, I mean, it's like a child wrote this summer. There are other good films floating around that I'm interested in. Like the only one out of all of these that drew my attention at all was Doctor Strange, and that's because it's directed by Sam Raimi. I think it did so well is because it comes with, the Marvel quadrant to bring audiences in, and then it also comes with the Sam Raimi audience. Very rarely do you get children's movies, family movie, and the dude from Evil Dead movie like all, in one place. That's what they call a big quadrant, 5 quadrant, 4 quadrant, one of the quadrants. There's multiple quadrants that they try to get for these movies, and that's definitely a quadrant movie. I kind of am curious. In 2 weeks' time, after Buzz Lightyear, comes out Elvis versus the Black Phone. Hello.
Keep my name out your mouth.
Rude. Anyways, as I was saying, Elvis versus. Anyways, Elvis comes out after the next week after Buzz Lightyear, and I don't foresee either of those movies knocking Buzz out of the first place. I wonder, if there's a bit of superhero fatigue when we get later on in the summer and we get like Thor, Love and Thunder. By then we'll have already had Batman be a big hit, and as well as coming off of Spider-Man being a big hit before that. And then, then we have Doctor Strange being a big hit, and now you're going to get this, so it feels to me like by the time Thor comes out, the audiences paying money for tickets aren't going to be into superheroes as much anymore. They're going to be tired. But Normally I don't care about box office numbers. The reason these ones are really interesting to me is we're at about the midsummer point, so we can judge like what blockbusters have come out and how they've done, and are people actually getting back to the theater? We've as a world we've gone through a lot the last few years, so theater attendance was pretty minimal, and gauging are people going back to movies to me is a good way to gauge are we getting back to normal. So, you know, a bunch of these blockbusters are getting attention and getting making the money that they're supposed to make, which makes me feel a little better. Down the road, I don't know. I think later on this year we get Black Adam. People are kind of interested in that, but then most of the good movies that I'm curious about don't come until next year. So we're getting anything that might draw attention early. I'm sure there'll be Oscar buzz movies in December. There always are. Um, but the big thing I'll probably end up seeing out of all of these movies that are going on is The Northman. That's a Robert Eggers film. He's the dude that did The Witch and The Lighthouse, or Lighthouse, whatever. Willem Dafoe. In both of those movies are like real weird, kind of thinky, creepy. Like The Lighthouse, I feel is almost kind of like the sweaty underwear of movies. It's just gross and uncomfortable, but it's like entrancing. The 4 by 3 photography, the black and white. The fact that Robert Pattinson has become an official movie star, where he goes and does these big bajillion-dollar movies, but then he does these little teeny independent movies. That's how the modern movie star acts. So he's impressing me in that. But with The Northman, it's made for an audience that like people who like weird art house films, but it's also supposed to appeal, like I said, the quadrants. It appeals to people who want to see a bunch of dudes fighting in fields with swords and a bunch of violence and whatnot. So uh, when people go see the movie that they see, they get upset. Like all the reviews by the average audience for The Northman are real bad, but a lot of the critics' reviews are very good. So I feel like it's a movie that's sort of a mistake. Like people want Conan the Barbarian or Gladiator, and instead he's giving them some other weird what the hell movie that he does. That's what he do. Um, if you haven't seen The Witch, I definitely recommend it. If you want to know how I feel about it, we'll throw that up. What's the corner? This corner. We'll put that there. We'll put that right there. Right there. And you check that out to find out how I feel about The Witch as an overall witch movie. And then, I don't know, check out some of these other movies I'll post too. Take it easy.